Hey everybody, Roll Hunter here. I got a box of nickels and I am really hoping, I've got my fingers crossed, that this box is going to be as hot as the last one I hunted. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel, Roll Hunter. Even before we start this hunt, we're going to have some additions and upgrades to the album. My very last nickel box hunt was on a live stream with North Central Coins. And I've got the finds here. We didn't have a chance to go through the album then. This is everything that I got in that hunt. And we got some real beauties in here. So first of all, check out that 63 right there. We got some really lovely coins here. But we got a 1944, absolutely one we need. We got a 53. This could be the no shoulder fold or shoulder fold. We'll have to just check and see what we have in the album. But check this out. My second King George V. It's a 1935. Look at that. King George in the box on that box battle nickel hunt. That is wicked. Absolutely will fill a spot. Only our second King George V to add to the album. So let's just take a peek and see what we can get in here. Well, I got to say that box was pretty incredible that we hunted. I'm going to put a link up above here so that you can find that live stream and see what we did. It was a slow start and it really heated up. But we added 3 spots here and we upgraded 2 nickels. We're at 89 of 119 spots. And you can see our best find here, that 1935, that filled a spot. But we had other cool things. We got that 1944 chrome-plated steel Victory World War II nickel that we didn't have. And if I flip the page over again, that 1953 shoulder fold filled a spot too. We'd recently found the no shoulder fold, but we still needed that one, and that's wicked. We had a couple of upgrades on this page. That 58 we found was really nice. And if I flip over the page, that 1963 that we found was just gorgeous. So we've done really well. And in addition to that, a couple of cool things in that stream, not one, but 2. 1961 with die chips under the 6 and under the 1. It's going to be hard for me to show you here, but I'll try to put an image, a close-up of the dates on screen so that you can see those. There's a die chip underneath the 1 on both of them and a little one under the 6. And I found on the Coins in Canada website other folks who had found examples of that. And then, just as an added bonus, I didn't have this 1952 Jefferson nickel, so I've added that to my collection. With that, we're going to hope that this box that we've got here can give us anything like we found in that last one. If it does, if it was just even half as good, it would be incredible. So let's dive in and see what we can find. Roll number 3, we're going to have our first find. We're going to flip it over and see what we got. It is a 1964 no extra waterline. And I totally missed it. Just behind there, a 1957. That's pretty wicked. I don't see the bug tail, but there's a variety on here we can look for. I'll throw it under the scope so we can get a closer look. There's our 57, and what we're looking for is if there is a die chip at the end of this tail that was called the bug tail. There's a little something there, but I don't think that's it. It's just maybe just some kind of artifact of the striking process. It's not that die chip. So we don't have it, but that's one you want to be looking for, absolutely. I've got roll number 6 here, and when I looked in, I found that ender was a 1962. I just flipped it over, and the other end looks to be a 1960. So there could be more in between, hopefully. So I'll spread these out, and we'll see what we've got. Oh my goodness, and have a look at that. It looks like every single coin in this roll is a 12-sided edge. That is incredible. There could be some King George VI in here. Obviously some laureate portrait. There's a couple that show some kind of corrosion and some dark ones that might be older. So this might have been a companion box to that last one we had where we found lots of good finds, but we certainly didn't find anything quite like this. Let's take a peek. Well, that is an incredible sight. We're going to have to check all of these for varieties like the double date, whatever these are. So this is 62, 62, 62, 61. And we've got a King George V here, a 1950. That's incredible. That's our first King George. 61, 60, 60, 61. This is obviously somebody's collection. There's another 53, that chromium plated steel. So we're going to get a variety, mostly 60s. That's a pretty nice looking 62. 62, 60, 60, 62, 61, 60. Pretty nice looking 1960 there. 61. This is, I've never found this before. There's another King George, a 1950. Little scratch, but actually pretty nice condition. Another 53. 61. There's a 56. 61. Another King George. That's an oldie. That's a 42. That's actually a round edge. 61, 60, 61. Oh, a beautiful 62. That's, I'm going to set that one aside. 62, 60. Oh my goodness. Another gorgeous one, 1960. Looks like there's some nice ones in here. A beautiful 61, maybe some upgraders in here. A beautiful 62. And then a 2008. That's crazy. 61, and then our 60 ender on the other side. Oh my goodness, we got, of the 40 nickels in there, 39 were ones for the board. Laureate Portraits or King George, and that lone 2008. I'm going to look through first to see if there are any varieties in those 62s particularly. Here's that really gorgeous 1962 that we found. Really clean field, really good. What I'm looking for is evidence of a re-engraved die on the date here, under the 1 and under the 2. We don't see it here. If I find one, I'll bring you in. Well, that was pretty incredible. You can see all our finds here, mostly 60, 61, 62, no double dates, but we got some King George the 6th here, and we even got some in the 50s as well. So I just took a peek at this next roll, and it's a 2000 ender, so we're not going to find anything great in there, but is it possible we've got a collection dump? Are there more rolls that might be the same? We'll have to see. This was the wrapper that that these ones came in, and there are some more like this, so we'll be on the lookout. Well, roll 7 is going to be exactly the opposite of the other. It looks like a whole bunch of new ones and only one old one, whereas the last one, it looks like a nice one, was 49 old ones and one new one. And we've got a gorgeous 1958. Look at that. That might be an upgrader for sure. I'd say that is an AU state at least, if not a low mid state. Gorgeous. Roll number 8, here's something different. It's our first American find. We'll see what that one is. That is a 1997 Denver. Roll number 11 is going to have at least a couple of interesting finds because I can see a 12-sided edge here. And this one is a 1961, so we can add that to our growing pile of 1961s over here. And then I saw towards the back what is going to be, I think, our third US now. This one is just going to be a 2001 Philadelphia. And in the same roll, we got a 1990 under the scope, but when I look at it, it is not the bare belly. That one looks like pretty furry, so that's not the one we want, but we're always checking our 1990s for that bare belly where we would see some significant dye over polishing here. This area looks mostly bare. Roll number 12 has another ender, and I can't quite see on this side, so I'm going to open this up and see if we possibly have the rest of the collection. I opened up the other end and it's showing a 2012, so probably not this time. Well, it was probably wishful thinking. The odds are pretty low, I think. There is that one 12-sided on the edge, but everything else looks more modern. And that ender was a pretty circulated 1960. Well, I might have spoken too soon because there's a bunch of US edges in here, and this one on the end looks pretty worn and pretty old. There's no mint mark on the right of Monticello, which would be a giveaway that would be 64 or older. But it is older. It's a 1948 Philadelphia. That is very cool. So far, a bunch more Americans, nothing noteworthy except for this one here, a 1954, and we'll flip it over and see And this is a 1954 San Francisco, and that is pretty cool. All right, this is roll number 15, and this might be interesting too. There's a US ender here and over here. That's a newer design there, of course. So it's possible this could be a whole roll of American nickels. If that's the case, I'm hoping there's something old in here because that would be really cool. Okay, so as I poured it out, it did look to be mostly Americans. I couldn't tell if they're new or old, but there is going to be something old in here because I can see at least one Canadian older edge in here. So, well, here we go again. And you can see here it really does appear as though it's an entire roll of Americans and many newer ones, but we've got at least one older Canadian just mixed in here for whatever reason. And it is another 1962. So it was a full roll of American nickels, save that one 1962 Canadian. Of those finds, the most interesting was this pretty nice looking 1979. Nothing else was older though, but that's a pretty nice strike on that one. Roll 18, and I see an edge peeking out at me over here. What's it gonna be this time? Another 1961. And just at the back of that roll, this is gonna be a 63 or 64, we know, because it's a laureate portrait with a round edge. And it is a 64. I've laid down roll number 19, and this is the very interesting box. It's the kind of box that you kind of want to get, I guess, but this appears to be, with maybe a few exceptions, mostly 70s or 80s, some older ones. So the nickel cup will be happy. There's a 65. We want to check on the back here on the obverse to see if it's the large bead, really rare, or small bead. I'll do that in a second. But there's something going on here. Somebody's wrapped these up. I don't know if they were getting rid of a collection or what, but we're just hoping there's more cool stuff in here. And because I mentioned it, the 1965, the large bead, what you're looking for is a large bead right in between these two eyes here. And that's not what we have. This is the very common small bead. The large bead is exceptionally rare. I don't expect to find it, but I always look because you just never know. Halfway through that roll here is a laureate portrait. It's the first one. It's a 63. Incredibly, that is just our first 1963 of this entire hunt. Just crazy because we found tons of stuff, but nothing in 1963 until now. So we'll put that down there to complete our little row. Same roll. It's a pretty nice looking 1977. This is the low 7. You can see that 7 on the right is lower. I don't know if it's going to upgrade because we've got some really nice looking nickels in that album, but we'll take a peek. And I guess we'll check this 99 against the album too because it's stuck in here, but it is a pretty clean looking coin. We'll see. Roll 20, I just unwrapped this paper wrapper and more of the same. There is a bunch of Americans again. The first one, I can see that's 1969. Hopefully we'll find something older, and I might check that against my collection because I don't think I've got a lot of nicer, older ones. Well, there's a 1970 S, not too bad looking. I don't find many S minted nickels in my Canadian hunts, but I don't often find whole rolls of American nickels to search. Roll 23, and there's a nice one. It's our first 1967 commemorative with the bunny on it. It's looks to be mostly uncirculated or lightly circulated, but it's got some kind of a film on it, but that's still a great find. We're in roll number 34. Things have slowed down considerably, but I'm bringing you in because this coin I got in my hand in this roll is a 2000. You'll see it's struck slightly off center, so the rim at the top is pretty thin, and it almost appears to have like a double rim at the bottom. But when I flip it over, it is a low mint 2000 piece, so we'll set that aside. We might see if this even upgrades in our album. I'm not sure. It's pretty nice, but I have a feeling we've got a nice one in there, but we'll see. Very next roll, number 35, and things had slowed down, but they might be speeding up a little bit. We've got a 63 as our ender here, and then I saw a little further back another 12-sided edge, and this one's in the 50s. That is a 1959. Roll number 39 is definitely going to give us some finds. I see at least 3 or 4 12-sided edges in here, and I just want to note it's in a roll here where both ends were taped up. And if this ends up being good, that bodes well because there are 2 more in this box that are taped up in the same way, so they might have very similar contents. We'll find out. Just going through that roll, and so far everything is from the 70s without exception. Well, the exceptions are coming because you can see a 12-sided edge up ahead. And some of them are quite nice. This 1975 is the nicest so far, so I'll set that one aside to compare against the album. And some are pretty circulated like that 74 you can see behind there. But so far, everything in this roll has gone into the nickel cup, which is about half full already. And there are some that we can point out here in a moment. Well, our first find of this one is a 64. That's a good one. And we may as well just take a peek back here and see what this next one is. It's a laureate portrait. This one is a 1961. Still in that roll, we got a 1956. That's a pretty nice looking coin, actually, I have to say. And we may as well look back here and see what this other one is. It looks like it might be nice as well. That's another 62. Roll 45, and there's another older Elizabeth just hanging in the back here. Let's find out what it is. If I can get it. It's another 1960. Roll 47, another laureate portrait. Another 63. Roll 48 is another one of those taped rolls, and there's only one obvious 12-sided edge, but as I lay these down, I can see a 1964 at the back there that's fallen, so there may be some others in here. Could we find more Georgies? That would be pretty awesome. And we may as well take a look at our 12-sided edge here and see what we've got. It's another 61, and it looks like, again, most of this stuff is 70s pure nickel. Little ways back, pretty scratched up, but it's another laureate portrait. This one is another 64. Roll 49, so far all nickel, almost all in the 70s. But we're going to have one more laureate portrait here. There's another 63. Roll number 50, last roll. Nothing obvious by the edges. They all look pretty new. We'll take a peek. If nothing in here, we'll do a wrap-up. Well, that's all she wrote for that box, but it was a good one. It might have even been my best ever. Of course, it's hard to compare against getting a George V like we did in our last box, but we got tons of stuff. I'll start here with the foreigns. We actually got 109 American nickels, almost 2 full rolls in here. Our most notable finds were that 1948, that 54. We got this 69S, sorry, that's a 69D and a 70S. I don't find the S mint marks all that often, so those are notable. And there's a few in here that were really nice that I'll check against my collection. I pulled aside a number of nicer examples of some coins. We'll check against the album and maybe roll them up. In our laureate portraits, we did really good. We got 52 altogether in the 60s. So from 1960, we got 14. We got 16 61s. They're not all here. We'll come back to that in a second. We got 11 1962s. None of them appeared to have the double date. We got 5 63s and 6 64s. What's unusual about this is normally we would get a whole lot more 63s and 64s than we would the other dates. They're just that much more plentiful. But I wanted to bring you in here. I've got a whole bunch of these 61s here because we found some die chips on these like we did on our last hunt. And so I'll just bring them up under the scope one at a time. You'll see this one has a die chip under the 1, just at the base of the 1 right there. This next one has a die chip under the 6. You can just sort of see, and a little bit under the 1. Here's another one with a die chip under the 6 and a big one under the 1. This one has a die chip under the 1, but not under the 6. So obviously these are fairly common. There's a pretty considerable one under the 6, a little bit under the 1. And then this has a little one under the 6 and a little one under the 1. And these might have just been stages of die chips, right? That just got worse over time. And then the last one I want to show you doesn't have any die chips, but what this has is it exhibits some sign under that 1 of a re-engraved date, which was common. It's very pronounced on the 62s that we see, but that little line there suggests to me that this might have also been a re-engraved date. If I swivel it around, you can see that it persists. It's basically a 1 on top of another 1, but that's a really interesting find. I'll probably flip this one up and keep it apart because it's a really neat one. Not to mention the fact that I only just saw it right now. Wow, look at this huge die break all the way across the coin. I'm going to just look closer to make sure that's not a scratch. All right, I had to take a closer look and confirm it with the loop. This is in fact a die break, a full die break. It's going right rim to rim here. I had to check to make sure it wasn't a scratch, and it's not. You can actually see where the die break continues on the rim over here, and pretty much in a straight line right across, but it is raised the entire way, and you can kind of see it go right into this rim here. That's the most pronounced die break I've found. So this one appears to have a couple of issues, one being perhaps a re-engraved date, that one, and a significant die break right across the side. This is really awesome. I'm going to look online and see if I can find other examples of this very die break. Well, that was certainly pretty exciting. We'll carry on here. We got a couple of 53s. Both of these are the no shoulder fold variety. A couple of 56s, a 57 no bug tail, a gorgeous 1958. We'll definitely check that against the album. And a pretty decent looking 59. And we found a few Georges too. We got a 1942 and a couple of 1950s. And an honorable mention, of course, we got a lower mint 2000p and a 1967 bunny nickel. So we're going to check everything against the album. We're going to see if we can plug any holes, if we can make any upgrades. We'll be right back. Well, we got another hunt in the books. And speaking of in the books, let's see what we got in the book in our Lighthouse Vista nickel album. Over these last two hunts, we did really awesome. We got that 1935, which is really, really cool. And we got that 1944 we saw at the beginning of the video as well. But we had some upgrades today, which were really cool. We got this 1962 upgraded. That is a beauty. And a few others that I wasn't really expecting. So if I skip forward, actually this 1981 was an upgrader. That's really cool. If we get into the 90s, we upgraded our 1996 Far 6, which is actually in a different spot in the album because there was no spot for the nearer Far 6. But we upgraded this 1999 as well. And we upgraded that 2000p, that low mintage 2000p, the one we found was actually really good. And I'll just skip back to our bonus page here. We've got our 62 Double Date, our 1990 Bare Belly, one of the ones we found. This is the 2006, the other version that didn't have a spot. But this is our 1996 Far 6 that we upgraded as well. So this album is looking really great. There are still some spots to fill. We're actually at 89 of 119 now, but it's looking pretty darn good. Well, I hope you enjoyed this mammoth hunt. We found tons of good stuff. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Cateroll Hunter, that would be fantastic. Please do that. I'd really appreciate it. And you'll find out when my next videos are coming out. I have videos coming out all the time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.